Hey, church family, thank you for joining us for today's Daily Connection video as we are talking about how God can redeem our failures, how we can trust in Him and know that He is going to walk us through our failures and redeem those failures for His glory and ultimately our good. And part of me wishes instead of failures it said weaknesses because I think that the passage that we're looking at is talks about a lot more than just failures. I think it talks about weaknesses that exist as well. And so Brother Brent opened us yesterday as we looking at verses 5 and 6 of 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and just getting this understanding of how Paul has done these extraordinary things. And Paul is pointing to God as he's doing that. He's saying, hey, I want to boast, but I'm boasting in God who has done these things through me. And then in verse 7, we see where he begins to describe how God has kind of given him this thorn in the flesh that keeps him kind of humble and keeps him remembering that it is God who deserves that glory. So let's take a moment and let's read that. Verse 7, it says, especially because of the extraordinary revelations, therefore, so that I will not exalt myself, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan, to torment me, so that I would not exalt myself. Now, we don't know what this thorn of the flesh is. What we do know, though, is that Paul was still a man with a sinful nature who faced great difficulty. And so this thorn in the flesh could be sin that he battled. It could be, it mentions a messenger of Satan, and some people take that literally when they read this passage, and they say maybe it was he is tormented by a demon of some sort. It could be a physical ailment that he faces, or maybe some sort of trauma that he is constantly tormented by. Whatever it may be, there was something that wasn't perfect in Paul, something that wasn't exactly the way it was meant to be. And notice as he talks about this, he talks about this thorn of the flesh is there so that he would not exalt himself. This thorn in the flesh keeps him humble. And so as we look at this, the book mentions failure, but here I would say even weakness or what, however we may describe this thorn in the flesh, it's not good, but God is using it for his glory. He's using it to keep Paul humble. And I think that each of us often have a thorn in our flesh, or maybe we have a lot of thorns in our flesh. Maybe it's sin that we battle on a regular basis, that we constantly are having to turn over to Christ. Maybe it is. Maybe it's some sort of physical ailment that we struggle with that reminds us that we aren't exactly whole, that we're not completely the way that we want to be, and we have to deal with all of the issues and the difficulties and the inconveniences that come with that physical ailment. Or maybe it's some sort of trauma that you've experienced that you have to live with every day. And it's a reminder that your life isn't exactly perfect. It's not everything that you wish it was. And a lot of times those things can bring on great grief and great depression. We can find ourselves turning inward in those moments and turning away from God. But God uses those things, those weaknesses, those failures, those mistakes, those sins, whatever it may be. God uses those for his glory whenever we turn to him in the midst of them. And I think that is key as we face these difficult times, that we do not turn inward, but instead we turn to him. And that doesn't mean that everything goes away. That doesn't mean that you don't continue to battle that sin or still have that ailment or that the trauma that you've experienced just disappears. Oftentimes those things still remain. But what it does mean when we turn to God is that we turn to him saying, God, I can't defeat this, but I trust you anyways. Hey, God, I trust you in the midst of this. I trust you to give me peace, not emotional peace, but relational peace, healing peace. God, I trust you. And as we trust and turn to God more and more over and over and over, and he redeems those failures and those weaknesses, he redeems even those sins that exist within us, we're going to grow in our relationship with him. It's going to help us remain humble and give glory to the one to whom glory is deserved. So, the author gives us a couple of questions here that are really good. The first one says, how do you naturally respond to difficult circumstances? How do you deal with the difficult circumstances that you walk through? And the second, how can God work through the hardships we face? How can God use those difficult things that we face for His glory? Church family, I think all of us have faced difficult hardships in our lives. I know I have, and I know that many of us have. And we need to be careful as we face those to be sure that we turn to the Lord, because He is our source of strength. He is our source of wisdom in the midst of those things, and we may not get answers, and that's okay, as long as we continually turn to Him for His love and for His guidance and His strength. And so, church family, as you are dealing with whatever that thorn in your flesh may be, I want you to know that we love you and we're praying for you.